Good evening, everyone. Welcome to week 10 of the RIAK E-Racer Supreme Series. Now, for those guys on RGT who perhaps don't want to listen to me all session long, don't worry, I'm not going to use the race radio. For this session, it's just a quick one to say we do have a live Zoom coaching feed if you'd like to join us. The details are in the RGT event description. If you don't stress, just a quick heads up. The VO2 and sprint sectors, as the session is planned, intend to do those with erg mode turned off. I'll leave it at that though. If you want to hear more from me and hear and enjoy the live Zoom coaching feed, as I say, the details are in the RGT event description. Otherwise, I'll leave you to it and have a good session, everyone. Thanks. Okay. Right then, so for the people that have chosen to hear from me, welcome. I hope you're all good. This is week 10 and we're off basically. See a few new people on the Zoom feed. For anyone that is new, my name is Rich. I'm the coach. I'm the one leading this session. I'm also the founder and head coach of RIAK Fitness. We are a cycling and triathlon coaching outfit. Our main kind of offering is our bespoke coaching relationships. If you have a look at our coaching page, you'll see that our Tri-Squad membership and our cycling coaching, pretty full service package, including a host of really cool additional extras, including online sessions much like this, but exclusively for our squad athletes and our cyclists. So yeah, feel free to check that out. Otherwise, the obligatory shout out to our partners, in particular Sundried. I'm sporting this it's actually my favourite one of their kits. This is the Stealth kit from Sundried, mainly because it's their most flattering kit on a live stream. But yeah, so just remember guys, you'll see the ads running above me, or if you want all the discount codes, you can head to our website. At the bottom of most of the pages we have a partner section, and the code is listed there. Otherwise you will see it running above me. And then also of course to 80/20 coffee. I'm still working my way through a cheeky kilo bag of Peruvian gold at the moment, and it's not too bad at all. So yeah, we've got a discount code for them as well. So check all that out guys. But otherwise you're here for business, not to increase your spending liabilities, no doubt. So we're week 10. We're into the big boy and big girl stuff now. Alright, 74 TSS. We're not messing around anymore. This is proper e-racing prep. And we've got a very straightforward and a very challenging session for you tonight. Very, very simple. Got a nice 10-minute warm-up as per usual. The 3 fast pedaling efforts. A nice little cruising sector. And then we're into it. Okay, we've got 3 rounds of VO2 max efforts, finishing off with a 30-second sprint. Now, this session, we're going to be out of erg mode for the majority of it. I'll run through that again. How you do that, how you get rid of erg mode and what it is, etc. in just a minute's time. So, as I say, very simple. We've got the 3 5-minute VO2 max sectors with a 30-second sprint at the end, and we're going to be doing all of that out of erg mode. Now, for people that aren't familiar with that, erg mode, guys, is a setting on smart bikes and smart trainers where essentially this flywheel wants to spin at a certain velocity, a certain resistance, so you can hold a perfectly consistent power. It's a fantastic conditioning tool up to a point, but as you will have experienced if you've done a lot of this series, there's quite a few contexts in which it's not helpful, particularly when it comes to sprinting, because our targets are, when it comes to sprinting, relatively arbitrary. It's a guess, because let's face it, we've all got different top end power, and ultimately we want you to be activating the right energy system. So we do all our sprint sets out of erg mode basically, so that you're not limited, you're not constrained by our guesswork. Okay, if you're not familiar with how to turn erg mode off, I'll show you. You just go to the sensors menu in RGT, And then this tab here, you're turning that off. Not yet, I'll tell you when. We're just signposting where it is. If you don't have a smart bike or smart trainer, you've got a power meter and non-smart trainer combo. Just ignore all of that basically and just crack on. So yeah, what we got? We got three 5-minute sectors at VO2. Each of them finished off with a 30-second sprint. And I don't think the context that we have in mind for those efforts needs too much in the way of explaining. It's just how every e-race finishes essentially. It just goes batshit insane for the last 5-10 minutes, and then you got to somehow pull out the bag a big finishing effort. How long that effort is really changes, and that's something I'll have a quick little chat about in a minute, because it's something which we had a good chat about with our e-racing team. So if you didn't know, and for any female riders watching this, we have a women's e-racing team. We have 6 supported riders who we look after on a day-to-day basis, but we also welcome anyone who wants to join us, any female athletes. Guys, come join us as well, obviously, but our focus is on kind of hopefully helping to improve female e-racing participation and female racing participation generally. But yeah, we had a really good chat actually about how late to leave your sprint in a race. And as always with these things, the answer from the coach was, well, it depends. And I'll explain why it depends as part of the session. Because let's face it, you want to sprint for as short a period as possible, because that's that horrible bit where you're just completely gassed, you're at the end of your reserves, and somehow you've got to finish it all off. It doesn't really matter what group you're in. We all like to kind of finish with a little sprint, a little bit of fun. That's why we do it, basically, so you can get to the end and have a bit of fun. But yeah, for now though, guys, just chill out. We're at about 64% of FTP right now. Leg speed wise, on your cadence upwards of 80 RPM, but generally speaking, just relaxing, keep the fluids coming on board. And one thing I am going to talk about, mainly just because I had a good chat with one of our athletes today about it, who's new to the sport. She's a triathlete, but relatively new to the sport. And I think we always tend to assume certain things. But what I am going to be talking about is kind of some really real basics in terms of cadence and approach. And we always often get some good questions about cadence and why it's important. So we're talking a little bit like that this evening. But for now, we've got 2 minutes of this step. Then I think what have I done this week? Yeah, so I've got it in 3-minute steps. Normally we do 5 2-minute steps. This week we've got 4 3-minute steps on the warm-up. Can't tell you why I've done that. Just like to change it up every now and then. But there you go. So we're at around, where are we now? Right now, about 60. Yeah, around 64, 60, between 64 and 68% of FTP. Just spinning up. Get the fluids on board, guys. This is going to be a hot, sweaty session. So get the fluids on board. Particularly if you've been busy all day long and may not have been hydrating as well as you could have. Really important. Kind of get some fluids into your system early. Ideally you do it way before the session, but let's face it, it happens. Sometimes you just don't have the time. Sometimes it just sort of slips your mind. Same with the fueling. One question we often get is about training fasted and fueling sessions. My advice to you guys with these sessions, 74 TSS, there is no messing around. This session needs to be fueled. You need to have had something within a couple of hours before the session so that you've got energy to burn. So if you haven't eaten in a while, it might be advisory to jump off, grab a quick gel or something so that you have something in your system to burn, because you are going to be absolutely smashing through your glycogen supplies in this session. Okay, so much of it is either at your aerobic limit or above. and that means you're just going to be burning almost purely glycogen stores. So if they're not there, you're not going to have much fuel to burn, and you're gonna bonk. I actually hate that phrase, but there you go. So on to the final step of the warm-up before we get into the fast pedaling efforts. Those are quite long, those fast pedaling efforts, so about a minute long, and we're at 80% of FTP for those. Right now we should be riding at sort of like it should feel like a 4 out of 10 effort. So it's still pretty cruisy, but getting nice and warm, starting to get a bit of a grease on, getting ready to go. It's almost time for me to put on my fan, and annoyingly I placed my fan just out of arm's reach. So I'm going to have to try and keep the flywheel going whilst it's on. Right, let's see how quick I can do it. Well, actually, that was a lot easier than I was expecting. Nice and relaxed, 4 out of 10 effort, around 72% of FTP now. Another minute and 40 before we get into those fast pedaling efforts. Then we've got a nice cruise sector after the fast pedaling efforts. That cruising sector is 5 minutes long. So almost a reversal of last week's session. Well, it was last week, wasn't it? Last week's session where we started really aggressively, like straight out after the fast pedaling efforts. We went straight into the efforts. And as I said last week, we did that for a particular reason. You know, you're not particularly you're not as warm as you possibly could be before a race. It starts aggressively, you have to kind of do your best. Very different approach this week. Back ending the session with the efforts. So we've got a nice cruisy warm up. So just relax. There's no rush. About 45 seconds till we hit those fast pedaling efforts, and we're going to be going upwards of 100 RPM on the cadence and about 80% of FTP. So it should feel like a 6 out of 10 effort when we get there. Seconds. Okay, last 10 seconds. Right then, let's get the old brain engaged. Here we go for the first fast pedaling effort. It's a minute long, which is quite long doing a fast pedaling effort at an arbitrarily high cadence. But here we go. Right, so upwards of 100 RPM on the leg speed. Guys, let's really spin those legs up. Try it, because it is a long period, we want to try and stay as relaxed as possible in the upper body. Okay, so draw those shoulders away from the ears. So if you're looking like this at the moment, draw those shoulders down and back. So then just soften the elbows so that your bum is planted. And let's really spin up those legs. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to wake up those fast twitch muscle fibers, which are going to be, the mainstay of your session as we get into the VO2 efforts. So I'm trying to wake up those fast twitch fibers and just lift your default cadence, because what we don't want is when it comes to those VO2 efforts, you pushing a big revolting gear with a super low cadence. Very inefficient that. Okay, and relax. As I said, we'll talk about cadence. We'll just get through these fast pedaling efforts and then we'll start to have a little bit more of a chat. Which reminds me, guys, these sessions are interactive if you want. So do feel free, if you're on Zoom, do feel free to kind of unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can leave a question in the Zoom chat, or there's the RGT chat, you can leave a question in, or also if you're watching this on the live stream, the comment section on the live stream, you can leave any questions there. We're across it all, so whatever your media, feel free to get involved. Okay, 10 seconds, then we're back on the next fast pedaling effort. Ready? Let's get ready to spin up. So well above 100 RPM again. So you'll see the target in the workout is 110. So try and get there if you can. And then in the final sort of 10-20 seconds, really spin up well above 110 RPM if you can. But ultimately try and get relaxed. Try and create good habits. Okay, coming up to halfway through. Okay, in this last 20 seconds, let's try and lift it again in terms of leg speed. So let's try and get to that 110 RPM and above. All right, so just an extra little nudge on the leg speed. Still remembering to stay relaxed in the upper body. Just keep it going for another 10. 2, 1. Okay, and relax. Back down to zone 2, back down to sort of 65% of FTP. Okay, so we've got one more of those fast pedaling efforts, final opportunity to really rev those legs up and kind of get them going. And then we're into a nice cruisy sector, which is another opportunity to get the fluids on board and kind of just get yourself set. As I say, opposite approach to last week. We're nice and chilled for the beginning, which is my preference as well. But yeah, here we go. Okay, a few seconds, 5 seconds. 2, 1. Okay, off we go. So we're hitting a well above 100 RPM. So I'm laughing because we've opened up the restream, so we've opened up the live stream chat, and all the bots. We inevitably always get hit by bots at the beginning, and so I've got about 5 or 6 messages coming in telling me like they found a girl for me. My fiance will be incredibly upset by that. But she won't. Good riddance. Anyway, back to the session. I wonder if those bots ever actually get people clicking on links. Anyway, last 20 seconds. So let's really lift that cadence. Try and get top out about 120 RPM if we can now. Really get it going. Come on, last opportunity to wake up the legs. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good stuff. Okay, that's the fast pedaling effort's done, so just relax. Nice, 6 minutes of cruising now. But don't want your cadence to slow down too much, so keep it above about 85 RPM, okay? So nice quick turnover still. Now, why is cadence important? We talk about this periodically, but I think it's always important to remind people, particularly if someone's new to cycling. I think we often take it for granted. We start spitting out all these cadence targets, and people are very obliging. I'm sure they do their best to follow them. But why have we got these cadence targets? Why does it matter? Well, this is very applicable to e-racing, by the way. This isn't just something random. It's very applicable to e-racing as well, because it is so tempting to sit in a big heavy gear. The same with crit racing. You know, sit in a big heavy gear and just roll it over. But guys, it's super inefficient to work like that. Cadence is important, and particularly when you're working on doing a workout like this and you're in erg mode as we are at the moment, which will turn up in a second. But when you're in erg mode in particular, there's what's called a 3-second smoothing on the power readout. So what that means is there's a rolling 3-second average of your power. So if we use an example, say you're doing 100 watt, trying to put out 100 watts, and your cadence is 50 RPM. This is a ridiculous example, by the way. If your cadence is 50 RPM, putting out 100 watts, if you then lift your cadence to 100 RPM and hitting that 100 watt target still, according to that 3-second smoothing, you're essentially putting out less power per pedal stroke in order to hit that power target, if that makes sense. So if to put it another way, if I'm sitting at 100 RPM and 100 watts, if I then slowed my legs right down to 50 RPM, I'm having to put out a lot more power per pedal stroke in order to hit that average power. I hope that makes sense. But kind of just more fundamentally, everybody, with a few exceptions, generally sits within an 80 to 100 RPM cadence in terms of where they're most efficient. So all of us pretty much. You might see some of the top pros, time trialists sitting here, 70 RPM, pushing an enormous gear, and they may well have discovered that they're very efficient at that. But for the vast majority of us, that is not efficient. Okay, so what we really want to encourage you to do is move away from feeling like every pedal stroke has to be, like doing a single leg squat or something. It doesn't. What's more important is kind of, not just the power target, but how you deliver it and how sustainable it is. And if you've got a really slow cadence, I don't think I need to tell you that is going to tire you more. If you're trying to hit the same power target with a low cadence, you're going to get more tired more quickly. I hope some of that makes sense. I feel like I'm not explaining it very, very well. My mind, I'm struggling for my words tonight. But basically, everybody, all of us, with a few exceptions, are most efficient at somewhere between 80 and 100 RPM. And generally speaking, you want to lift that cadence as the effort increases. So, when we're sitting at around 65% of FTP like we are now, somewhere around 80-85 RPM, it's totally fine. But then when we're into those VO2 efforts, that's where we want to be well above 90 RPM, if not into the hundreds. Okay, we want to be really shifting those legs around. Okay. Now, before we go any further, just a quick reminder to turn erg mode off. So go to the sensors menu, this tab here, you want to turn that off. It goes white. I'm going to leave it on just because I need my power to be at a certain state because I'm on a recovery ride. But guys, turn this off if you've got a smart trainer or a smart bike. Turn erg mode off. Just wait 10-15 seconds and then your trainer will start to adapt and start to replicate the gradients. And we're on a pan flat course. So yeah, you don't need to do anything else basically. Just get that erg mode off because we don't want it on for the rest of the session. But yes, as I have explained, I think quite badly, cadence is super important because if you put it very bluntly, if you're inefficient, you'll tire more quickly. If you're efficient with that cadence, you'll be able to hold that power for longer. And so these VO2 efforts are the ultimate test, as is e-racing, because the temptation is that once you're above your aerobic threshold, that you've got to get into like a bad habit of rolling a big gear. And what that means is, when we say rolling a big gear, it means low cadence, high powered. Okay, so let's practice in this first interval in about 30 odd seconds. We want to be well above 90 RPM when we hit it, and we want to be probably into the hundreds if we can. So let's start picking the leg speed up now, get it above 90. Erg mode is off. We're ready to drop that gear. 5 minutes of VO2 into zone 5, and then we're going to finish it off with a full gas sprint. Okay, so imagine the context. Coming towards the end of the race, we've made the final, the first pack. Here we go. Someone's kicked off. Someone's decided to push on. We're staying with the group, and we're just going to ride the wheels. But even so, this is a hard effort, 9 out of 10 effort, I would say. So make sure that cadence is nice and high. Remember, well above 90 RPM, if not into the hundreds. And do your best to relax. You're into your VO2 max power, which means your lungs are basically at capacity. You're on that horrible, horrible edge, and you've got to try and maintain it. Going out towards the first minute down. Good stuff, guys, good stuff. Come on, keep that leg speed nice and high. Don't ease off. You've got a lovely 5 minutes of pure recovery in between, okay? So there's lots of recovery up between the sets. All right, so don't hold back in any of them. Just give it your best shot. Approaching 2 minutes down. There we go, 3 to go. Stay on it, guys, stay on it. I know this is an absolutely disgusting place to be, but just really focus on your leg speed. Keep it nice and high. Don't get sucked into a low cadence now. You're approaching halfway. There we go, 2.5 to go. Stay on it, guys, stay on it. Two minutes of hard work left. Come out to 90 seconds. Then we're going to drop the hammer for that big 30-second effort at the end. So at the moment, we're still using a fair amount of aerobic energy production, but we are shifting into that anaerobic energy production. Legs are starting to fill with lactate. 60 seconds, then we turn and burn. I'll stay on that knife edge. Stay on that knife edge. Keep your power up. Keep your leg speed up. Remember. "19 seconds. Then we're going to unleash the beast. Okay. So get ready to drop the hammer. Drop that big gear in. In 10 seconds. So pick up the leg speed. Pick it up. Get above 100 RPM now before you drop that gear. Ready, ready, ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Come on, 30 seconds. Drive it, drive it, drive it. $20 to go. Come on, push, 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 push. Nearly there, it's nearly there, come on. Kick again, kick. 3, 2, 1. And relax. Well done, guys. Well done. That's round 1 of 3 done. Already a third of the way through. Well done, guys. That is a brutal effort. Well done. So if we're thinking about cadence efficiency, give yourself a minute to just catch your breath, but don't wait too long, and bring the leg speed back up above 80 RPM. Okay, don't worry too much about the power target. It's set at about 40% of FTP, so we're down into zone 1, pure active recovery, but get that cadence back up. Okay, as I said earlier, cadence is about efficiency. Even when you're on, so the context in which I had my conversation with one of our athletes was about their long endurance ride at the weekend, and they were sort of saying that you know, they felt absolutely knackered after riding for a couple of hours. And then once we kind of drilled down into the specifics, you know, they had been rolling quite heavy gear, and I think it's easy, particularly when you're new to the sport, to think that you have to be working hard all the time. And if you're, you know, at a set power, you still feel like that power has to be like hard earned. It's not like cycling is all about saving energy, guys. Okay, and your long endurance rides in particular, they're about utilizing fat for energy and building aerobic endurance. So you don't want to be anywhere near that FTP, that aerobic threshold, but you want to be pedaling nice and efficiently still. So even when you're at cruising pace, even now, we're in zone 1. When you're in zone 1, zone 2, you still want to be above 80 RPM, pedaling nice and efficiently. It shouldn't feel like every pedal stroke is an individual struggle, okay? So just remember that when you're out on your endurance rides, you still want to be kind of strict on the old cadence. Make sure you're riding efficiently, okay? Not having to use those fast twitch muscle fibers, which if you are pushing a big heavy gear with a low cadence, you're going to be utilizing those fast twitch muscle fibers more, because with each pedal stroke you're having to put out more power, which means you have to recruit more muscle fibers, and in particular more fast twitch fibers for those higher powered efforts. So keeping your cadence high is going to save those fast twitch fibers. Okay, might seem counterintuitive because you're talking about higher velocity, but you're basically putting less work through the pedals. Okay, I hope some of that made sense. I really don't feel like I'm sometimes, you know, when your mind is thinking something but your mouth just doesn't say it properly. I got that this evening. On a different note, so we're going to deal with the next two intervals slightly differently. Now, you might have experienced there 30 seconds sprinting is too long, and this brings me back to the point I was also going to talk about, which we'll talk about in the next couple of recovery periods, is when to leave your finishing sprint. Now, as a general rule, on a pan flat course, anything within 200 meters of the finish line is kind of sprint territory. So you're talking maybe 10, 12, 13, maybe even 15 seconds depending on your level. So this 30 seconds is way too long for a finishing sprint. So what I want us to do on the second and third interval is I want you to break this 30 seconds up. I want you to imagine we're at the end of a race, and of course there's always somebody that goes far too early in a race. Okay, so you're going to have to follow the moves, which means you are going to have to go anaerobic, which means you are going to have to go sort of, you know, 150% of FTP or whatever, but you're not emptying the tank. Okay, so what I want you to do in this next effort, in this 30-second sprint, first 15 seconds, I want you going anaerobic, but I don't want it to be everything you've got. And then the final 15 seconds, you light the touch paper, and that's when you really go. And just imagine in your head, somebody's gone for it way too early, 500 meter mark or something ridiculous, and you're following them, but you're using their bum as a shield against the wind, and so you're saving a bit of energy, and then in the final 50 seconds, you're gonna go round them. Okay, I'll repeat that, don't worry, when we're coming up to it. For now though, let's just get ourselves going. Back up to VO2 max, back up to around 110% of FTP, back up to a 9 out of 10 effort, and back well above 90 RPM. Okay, this is one of the benefits of running sessions out of erg mode, is we can nuance it a little bit. We can sort of throw in little curveballs for you and Miyagi you into kind of approaching things in a race mindset. Anyway, just focus on the next 4.5 minutes first. VO2 at 4.5 minutes is no mean feat. But keep that leg speed high. Up towards the first minute down. There we go. So it goes without saying, in that sprint, guys, ignore the power target. Okay. But for now, you're trying to hit it. Okay. Hit the power target now, but in the sprint, just go on feel. Approaching 2 minutes down, not too far, and then you're halfway. Okay, 2.5 to go. Come on, guys, you're halfway through the VO2 effort. Keep pushing, keep driving it. Don't worry if you need little micro recoveries, but as soon as you get back on top of the gear, punch it again, okay? Back up to 110% of FTP, back up to a 9 out of 10 effort. Two minutes to go. Okay, 90 seconds. Coming up. Yeah, this is a good circuit, isn't it? This is great for training, particularly when you're out of erg mode, pan flat. Keeps everyone in sort of the same sort of vicinity, so you've got wheels to chase. That's just in response to one of the comments on the live stream, guys. Right, so coming up towards a minute. Okay, now a minute to go at VO2. Just remember what I was saying. This 30-second sprint, break it up. First 15 seconds, we're going to chase the wheel. So it's sort of like an 80% sprint. And then last 15 seconds, that's when we go for it, okay? That's when we're going to imagine we're into the final 200 meters and we're just going to gun it. Well, not eyes closed. But we're going to go for it. Head down, I should have said. Okay, into the last 30 seconds we go. Of the VO2 effort, at least. So get ready to punch it. So first 15, remember to leave something in the tank. And then second 15, bombs away, off we go. Afterburners, whatever cliche you want, just smash it. Alright, so 10 seconds ago, let's pick up the cadence. Get above 100 RPM. Get ready to drop in that big gear. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're picking it up. We're picking up the effort. We're going pure anaerobic for the first 15, using that lactic acid system. And then we're going to go all guns blazing for the final 15, using that phosphocreatine energy system. Okay, come on guys, we're into it now. Come on, push. Kick for the line, come on. Everything you got. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Good. Well done, guys. That's round 2 done. Well done. Lovely, pure 5 minutes of recovery. And we've just got one final round. So, catch your breath, then bring the legs back up above 80 RPM. Sipping the fluids as well. Try not to go too crazy on the fluids. It's unlikely to get into your system before the next effort. So just little sips. Just kind of keep your throat wet. And but yeah, not big gulps. It will not help you. Okay, so yeah, talking about cadence, talking about that last 200 meters. Now, I said it depends right at the start as to when to start your finishing sprint, because it depends on the terrain. So we had a race recently where the final sprint was very uphill, and one of our riders went way too early. Okay, you have to bear in mind, if it's an uphill sprint, leave it as late as you possibly can. So last 150, whatever, because you are going to be, really gunning it just to stay with it on that little incline. And I promise you, other people will not have that level of foresight, and they'll see last couple 100 meters and they'll just go, and then quickly realise, oh shit, this is uphill. Suddenly the finish line is a lot further away than I was expecting it. Okay, apologies for swearing, but yeah, guys, it really depends on the terrain and also your ability to sprint. I use myself as an example. I've got pretty decent top end power, but I can't hold it for that long. And so for me, when I see guys go at sort of 340 meters, I kind of die a little bit inside, because I'm like, no, that's too early, I can't hold it that long. So I have to do my best when that happens to try and get onto someone's wheel and hope they pull me back to the front. Last week, as an example, didn't work out for me. Someone went way too early. I think it was like a kilometer away. They went, and I was just following wheels, trying to stay with it, but I didn't follow the right wheel, and we never got anywhere near back up to the front. But yeah, for me, I know my sprint is decent, but it's very short, and so I have to do what I can to try and manage my effort before we get there. And if if you flip it around, that maybe you don't have the best top end power. Okay, you haven't got that kick, so you have to do things differently. You may not even want to get anywhere near a finishing sprint. You want it to be over early, and so you're the sort of person that goes with the kilometers to go. Say you've got a big engine, a big VO2 max, a big FTP, you might be like, well, I'm not waiting for these guys to mug me, I'm going to go early. And it's these sorts of things that I think as you get more experience with e-racing, you really have to think about. And because I think it's all too easy to do so much hard work, get to the end of the race and not have any sort of plan. It can be a real waste of energy. And I think it's very easy to get suckered into doing what other people are doing. So, think about your physiology, think about kind of where your strengths and weaknesses lie. We use 200 meters as a general rule. You don't really want to start sprinting until then. But as I say, if you got that big diesel engine, maybe you do, get a jump on people. And one of the things I saw last week actually was that I didn't know the person who went early. I hadn't seen them racing before, so I just kind of assumed, they don't know what they're doing. I think they did know what they're doing because they stayed there for a long time, and so yeah, you kind of have to take a bit of a risk as to what approach you take. Sometimes you go take a flyer, people are going to, like I did, just sort of assume you're not up to much and wait for someone else to pull it in, and then before you know it, you've still got 10 meters on everyone else before they even think about sprinting. So really think about your physiology, really think about your strengths and weaknesses, think about your experience level. If you're not super experienced, my advice to you would be just follow as much as you can, let other people do the work, and you'll discover whether you have a big sprint or not. But you have to be in it in the first place. Right then guys, let's pick up the leg speed. Let's get ready to go one final time. Back up to VO2 max. Here we go. Back up to a zone 5 effort, 9 out of 10 in terms of RPE. Big power stuff for the last time, last interval. So let's do this, guys. So we're playing this the same way as last time. When we get to that sprint, first 15 seconds, we're going anaerobic. We're going well above our current power level, but we're not going full gas. We're just going to hold a little bit something back and imagine we're getting to within that last couple hundred meters, and then we're going to empty the tank. Or alternatively, if you know yourself and you know you need to do a long sprint and you're really applying a race context, go at the 30-second mark. You know, guys, there's a little bit of, I generally encourage you to kind of apply this to your own self. So if you think you're a diesel engine and you need that long anaerobic power, go at 30. If you're more like me and you need to wait to the final 15 seconds before you really go. So it's a freestyle basically. If you want to go somewhere in the middle, go for 20 seconds. It's up to you. Got to get there first, 3.5 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes down, guys. Come on, stay on it. Stay focused. This is the last interval, the last round. Coming up to halfway. Come on, you're so close now, guys. Just 3 minutes of hard work, 2.5 at VO2 and then a 30-second effort at the end, and then you are done for the session. Okay, so dig deep. Stay on that horrible, uncomfortable level where you just want the effort to be over. Master it though, guys, okay? Stay on it. A few minutes to go. Approaching 90 seconds. Whenever I get to 90 seconds, I always think, right, I'm nearly home, and it always gives me an extra little boost. There you go, 90 seconds to go. Come on, guys, let's finish this off. Imagine this is the final sprint of the race. Okay, it's all going berserk. People tacking left, right and centre. You're staying nice and consistent. Let everyone else blow themselves up. Wait until that last 30 seconds. Remember, it's dealer's choice in this final round. Go at 30, 20 or 10 seconds, whatever you want, 15 seconds, whatever you think you have left. We're going to pick it up in about 55 seconds. We're going fully anaerobic. We're going to leave something in the tank for that sprint. Last 30 seconds at VO2, come on. 60 seconds of hard work, that's it. Okay, 15 seconds left at VO2. Let's throw a few extra RPM on that leg speed. Come on, pick it up. Come on, get ready to drop the gear. Right, pick your point. What are you going to do? You're going at 30, or you're going to wait a little bit? Come on, pick it up. We're going full anaerobic, but hold something back. I'm going to prompt you to go at 15 seconds. If you're holding. Ready, let's go. Come on. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done, everyone. Well done. Really good stuff. So remember what we talked about. Talked about cadence badly. But just always want to sit somewhere between that 80 and 100 RPM mark. Okay. Obviously a little bit above 100 RPM when you're in a sprint and VO2 efforts. But just generally speaking, particularly when you're at cruising level, zone 2 sort of stuff, make sure your cadence is up. You're not just trawling along the cadence seabed. Okay, we talked about that finishing sprint advice, particularly if you're less experienced. Leave it as long as you dare. And if you've got different terrain in that final few hundred meters, just remember, an uphill sprint is going to last a hell of a lot longer than a flat sprint. Okay, so don't go too early. Conversely, if you are a diesel engine, maybe you don't need to go early. It's all about figuring who you are as an athlete. And to help with that, guys, just remember, we've got our power ranking project. Okay, so if you go to the RIAK website, go to the power ranking page, you explain all about it. But basically what that is, guys, is a way for you to learn kind of how you sit in the amateur cycling world, the hierarchy of the amateur cycling world. And it's an attempt to kind of de-anonymize some of the Coggin tables that you might have seen, where you're ranked in the whole universe of cycling, which has limited benefit really in terms of application. You want to know kind of where you sit in terms of your peak powers in the world in which you race, in my opinion. So check that out. That will help you learn whether you're more of a diesel than a sprinter. Okay, just head to the RIAK website, and there's some free sessions there as well to help you gather the data required to answer the questionnaire. But the idea is we collect your peak powers, and then once we've reached a certain level of data, which we're not too far away from, by the way, we still need a few more people to log their data, and then we can start to put together a hierarchy. And then you can kind of just see, okay, that guy beat me in a sprint last week, but look at his 5-second power. It's 200 watts higher than mine. I'm never going to outsprint him unless, well, a year's worth of sprint training. But maybe I need to approach it in a different way. Maybe John Smith might be, 1500 watts for 5 seconds, but my 1 minute power isn't too far off his. Maybe that's where I need to aim, and I need to go long. Okay? Our goal is to provide the resources really for people to kind of learn more about themselves really. And obviously try and sell training plans, but we are a business. But yeah, check that out, guys. Helps you understand your physiology a bit better. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed that. It's another horrible session. We're at 74 TSS today, and then the next session, let me just double check. Next week, week 11, so getting towards the end of the series now. Week 11, where are we up to? Oh yeah, next week is really good fun. It's one of my favourite sessions. I know I always say that, but it genuinely is nice and dynamic. We've got a mix of VO2, anaerobic, and sprint sets. So we're covering the full sort of anaerobic spectrum. Yeah, really good fun session that. It's kind of what you think of when you think of just a really high intensity session. Okay, this is really good stuff. We give this to our athletes all the time when they're trying to improve their top end power. So yeah, next week is definitely a good one. So I'll come to that. Same time, we're at 76 TSS next week. Oh. But yeah, will be good fun. So last 40 odd seconds, just spinning up. Really, whenever you do these sessions, guys, I know I say it every week, but do try and make sure you stretch afterwards. Okay, doing high intensity sets like this is, yeah, it's gonna do some damage to your muscles, gonna shorten muscles because you're not fully extending your hamstrings, etc. So make sure you have a really good stretch afterwards. High protein meal on as well to repair that muscle damage. And of course, get the fluids on board. I know I say this every week, but it's meant genuinely. Please do it, because you will benefit from it. And there's always so much more to do. But yeah, stretching and protein, gotta get it on. No worries, Miles. Thanks very much for joining, everybody. And thanks for, I wasn't too much of an opportunity to, mainly because I was just chatting nonsense the whole time. Well, not nonsense, it was actually coaching advice, but I was chatting the whole time. But guys, yeah, these are interactive sessions. So if anyone's got any questions now, I will stick around for a little bit. I will end the live stream. But anyone on Zoom, if you've got any questions, hit me. Otherwise, guys, have a lovely evening, and thanks again for your company. And I'll just finish off on the RGT session. But thanks very much, guys. Thanks everyone for joining. Just a quick shout, a quick reminder, we do have a live coaching stream, through our social media channels, or we do have the live Zoom coaching feed. So if you're joining us next week, week 11 is an absolute banger. So please do join us. And come join us on the coaching feed, because hopefully you'll get more out of these sessions if you do. But thanks very much for your company, everyone. Enjoy your evening, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Cheers, guys.